Father of a bride for the second time. It's just so great to be able to get up in front of so many people and talk about this person. Most of you know Steph pretty well, though not exactly the way Iris and I know her. But more on that later. First, I want to thank the family and friends who came out to Austin. We're overjoyed at the number of relatives on both sides who are able to be here for Steph's wedding, as well as Iris and my friends from New York. Second, I'd like to acknowledge the large group of... Lost my place. Okay, I'd like to acknowledge the large group of her wonderful friends that are here. We're so happy that so many of them traveled from distant states and distant lands. But the most important point I'd like to make is that we're not really surprised at the fact that Stephanie's buddies went to such great lengths to be here today. Of course, these friends run the gamut from newer friends all the way to Alyssa, who's been a friend since preschool. There she is. A lot of these women formed close friendships that have lasted from high school to the present. After all, being apart during college and then moving to different regions has not diminished their love for each other. This is something that sets Steph apart from the rest of us friars. Other than her, our family doesn't typically attract such a big entourage, and certainly...
We have each other.
Well, we can make jokes about it. So, we don't typically attract such a big entourage, and certainly not one that has endured the test of time like Stephanie's. I think this speaks volumes about the type of person that Steph is. Why should we wonder for 1 minute whether Sarah would make the trip from Iraq? And whether Connie would fly from Australia to be here for this wedding? For just a few examples, these are just the type of human beings that Stephanie surrounds herself with. She places a high value on her relationships, and those that know her realize that fact. I also think they appreciate her and love her because she's genuine, she's smart, and she's fun to be around. And yes, they even appreciate her sarcasm. But we, as her parents, have an obvious advantage. We have an obvious advantage in that we've known her from birth, of course. As a baby, she was just a little more strong-willed than her sister and a bit more competitive. Which is not to say that she didn't get along with her older sibling. As children, they sometimes butted heads, but Stephanie has always had a close relationship with her big sister, Nicole. We loved seeing them playing together, though Nicole definitely had a problem with Steph copying her by wanting the same things that Nicole had. However, trying to be just like her big sister did not last forever. Being strong-willed meant that it wasn't long before Steph expressed her independence. Over time, she began doing things her way, relying less on getting other people's approval and doing things with the confidence that she could succeed. When she set out to become a Jewish song leader, she not only taught herself to play the guitar, she learned 100 songs in order to achieve her goal. When she decided that she wanted to be a professional actor, she went for it despite her parents' advice to the contrary. Meanwhile, Steph and I were developing a strong bond. During her high school years, we enjoyed frequently going to Mets games together. She was more than a daughter. She was a friend. She could also be an art director. Whenever I helped her with anything artistic, she had no problem defining how it should look. This occurred as recently as the work she had Nicole and I do on her Steph and Sean wedding logo, which you've seen everywhere. She was not content with leaving it to her designer sister and her graphic artist father. She had a very specific look in mind and kept pushing us until her vision was realized. Along with all of this, Stephanie was and is an advisor. I've often relied on her level-headed recommendations on everything from personal matters to employment issues. By now, I think you get the picture. Stephanie is decisive and uncompromising. What kind of man could hope to get close to such a self-assured woman? with such a big batch of friends. I can't speak to the precise nature of the personal chemistry that drew them together, but certainly a lot had to do with the sort of guy Sean is. Sure, there was some serendipity involved, and no doubt he's talented, handsome, and affable.
Oh, sorry.
But it was more than that. The way I see it, it was definitely helped by the way Sean embraced Steph's friends and her religion. Perhaps most importantly, since he's a perfect gentleman, as well as a truly gentle man, he's someone who has no problem dealing with the occasional sassiness from his partner. Creative writing. For Stephanie, I'll say it again. He's someone who has no problem dealing with the occasional sassiness from his partner. For Stephanie, the decision to make a life with him may well have been her best decision ever. In conclusion, Iris and I would like to wish them luck in their marriage, but as we know, luck is for the unprepared. And the word unprepared can never be applied to this amazing couple.
Oh.
Your phone shut off your flash because...
No, it doesn't. Okay.
Who else has nice things?
I think there's something wrong with my video camera. It's
All right, now it's time for the mother of the groom.
No, I think it's just because your batteries.